Last year we covered a few add-ons for Bambu Lab printers using the MQTT network protocol to both react to and control machine functions. One of them, called xTouch, lets you use a 2.8-inch ESP32 screen combo to interface with the printer, which many have been enjoying over the stock setup. BigTreeTech also unveiled last December that they'd been working on their own touchscreen upgrade for Bambu Lab's printers called Panda Touch. This 5-inch touchscreen gives you an alternative to the stock interface, along with some quality of life improvements like USB printing, advanced AMS control, and added functionality for print farms. BigTreeTech sent this screen over a few weeks ago for testing, and in today's video we will be diving in. We'll go over the install process, its performance as an alternative interface, the print farm functionality, as well as cover recent developments you'll want to consider before deciding whether this product is right for you. So with all that being said, and without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. With over a decade of experience, PCBWay offers reliable, high-quality PCB prototyping and fabrication with super fast turnaround times. Bring your projects to life with CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, and injection molding services. I recently ordered 20 PCBs to use for an upcoming Nerf-inspired blaster project that I've been wanting to build for years. With as few as 5 and as many as 10,000 board order quantities, PCBWay has you covered for any project, big or small. Use the link in the description to get a $5 credit towards your first order today. Starting with the specs, as mentioned, the Panda Touch is a 5-inch IPS touchscreen with a resolution of 800 by 480. It has 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi connectivity for connecting to your network and your printers. On the right side is a USB port that allows you to print using a full-size flash drive. This is so much nicer than the little micro SD card slot on the top of the printer. On the back is a power switch that lets you toggle between off, battery powered, and DC 5 volts. Next to it is an I2C port, which can be used for adding a temp and humidity sensor. The back of the device also has 5 magnets and 4 pads to connect it to the fixed mounting plate. That plate has 5 magnets of its own, along with 2 registration points to ensure the screen is aligned correctly when attached. There's a small PCB on the back that takes 5 volts from the USB-C cable and transfers it to 8 pogo pins. For anyone not familiar with pogo pins, they are awesome little spring-loaded pins. These are pressed against the pads on the back of the screen to charge the battery and power the device. I didn't see mention of the specifics on the battery size, but given that the runtime is half an hour when on battery power, I imagine it's not very large. For its intended use, it should be plenty though to use the Panda Touch in handheld mode before attaching it back onto the printer. We're installing this onto my trusty P1S that's currently rocking the xTouch. If you've not seen my video on this project, I'll have it linked in the description. xTouch is still being actively developed and updated. The creator recently showed me some stuff in the works which looked great and included 5-inch screen support. If you're interested in a more DIY open source solution, I highly recommend checking out this project. To assemble the Panda Touch, attach the back plate to the mounting bracket using 2 of the included screws. The mounting bracket attaches to the top of our printer using a double-sided adhesive, so you need to make sure that the top of your printer is nice and clean. I used some isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel to wipe down the panel. Peel off the cover on the adhesive tape and do your best to center the mount behind the stock screen. Once you're happy with how it's sitting, press down on the bracket to ensure the adhesive is fully pressed into the surface. BigTreeTech says it will take 12 hours for that adhesive to fully set. I use the device right away without any problems, but I just wouldn't put a lot of force on the screen until you're sure that it's securely fastened. Before attaching the screen onto the back plate, the instructions have you put into 5-volt DC mode. From the recommendations, it seems like it's fine to keep it in battery mode as long as the printer is going to stay mostly powered on. If the printer will be switched off often or the battery dies and you're not going to charge it right away, then it's best to switch the device off. The last step of the physical setup is connecting the USB-C cable. On the inside of the printer behind the screen, peel back the sticker on the left side to reveal the full-size USB port. Plug the USB-C cable in, then route it through the hole at the top right of the shell and into the port in the back of the Panda Touch plate. There are some small cable clips built into the underside of the top panel that you can use to organize that USB cable. I didn't find them particularly great at holding the cable, but with enough effort you can get them positioned in there. Now we can power on the printer. One thing I took notice of right away is how quick this screen boots up. The interface guides you through the setup process, which consists of connecting to your Wi-Fi network and adding a printer. You can manually enter your printer's credentials, but clicking scan will search your network for any powered-on Bambu printers. The only thing you'll need to enter is the printer's access code. Depending on which printer you're connecting, it can be in a slightly different location, but for the P series, it's under Settings, WLAN, and at the bottom of the first screen. Type that into the access code text box on the Panda Touch and click Confirm to connect. Right away, I was really impressed with how good everything looked. Part of it may be that I've been so used to using that little 2.8-inch ESP screen, but the icons and text really pop. As far as interface and design goes, if you have an X1 Carbon or have used one, you will feel right at home. From the location of options to layout and much of the functionality, it is near identical. I'm not sure how much Bambu cares about the similarity, but from a user experience perspective, it is really nice. The home screen lets you toggle the light on and off, adjust wireless settings, and show current printer temps. The control menu lets you set temps, move and home each axis, manually extrude or retract, and adjust each fan. The filament tab takes you to a settings page where you set the materials either mounted on the back of the printer or the inside of the AMS. This is also near identical to the X1 Carbon and a really nice feature of the Panda Touch. There's no way to set these things from the stock screen on the P1P or P1S, so you have to do it from the slicer or the Bambu Handy app. I had no idea that this level of control was even possible using MQTT, and I didn't realize until having it now again how much I missed this functionality. The next folder page lets you browse files on the printer's microSD card or a flash drive inserted into the Panda Touch. I was also not sure that direct printing from the device would even be possible, so I'm very happy to see that it is. I played around with the files a bit in Orca Slicer and found out that exporting a G-code file will not show up on the Panda Touch. You either have to click send or export plate, which gives you a .3mf file, and that worked fine. There are some limitations to this though, like if you have a multi-plate project, only plate 1 will be recognized, and currently there are no thumbnails on the printer. Other than for larger projects, I don't actually use the multi-plate setup all that often, but I would really like to see thumbnails get added to the Panda Touch in a future update. Next is the settings menu with some information about the screen, its firmware, and a few other options. The last menu item is what I'm calling the device menu, where you can add additional Bambu printers for up to a total of 10. Currently, the screen can pair with and control the X1 Carbon, both P series and both A series printers. To add another printer, click the plus sign and just like before, scan your network, select the printer to add, and type in its access code to pair. When you have more than one printer connected and you go to print, you'll have the option to print the file out on one or multiple machines. This does mean though that you'll need to make sure all printers that you're going to be printing with have the same type of filament loaded for whatever that file was sliced for. Each printer that's connected has a role that's assigned to it from that device page. The options are master, slave, sync, or disconnected. Whichever printer is set to master is the one that the Panda Touch is currently controlling. You can toggle the roles at any time to switch another printer to master. Any printer that is set as slave will mirror what the master printer does. From homing to controlling lights and preheating, it's pretty wild to see. I only have the 2 printers in my studio, but this will work with up to the maximum of 10. In a print farm scenario, being able to preheat all printers at the same time or adjust speeds on multiple printers with just the press of a button could be very handy. The other 2 modes are sync and disconnected. I use sync when I don't want the printer to mirror the master printer, and disconnected just seems to break the link between the Panda Touch and that printer. A few things I'd like to see on the farm management side are the ability to group different printers together or create groups, and easier toggling. Grouping would allow you to set certain printers in groups so that you can have multiple master or control printers that only machines in that specific group respond to. Grouping is being worked on right now by the BigTreeTech team, and they have stated it is coming in an update. Also, to swap roles, you have to go to the device page, click the printer you want to set as master, then select it and confirm. This is fine, but I'd like to see an optional toggle that adds something like a master dropdown to the home screen. This would let you click the dropdown and select the printer to make master in 2 clicks instead of the current 4. It might seem minor, but for somebody that's got a lot of printers, I think that would be a much cleaner workflow. Overall, the Panda Touch has been a treat to use. It feels much more like my X1 Carbon, and I really like the AMS control and USB printing options. The interface has been very snappy and responsive, and my biggest request for now is thumbnail previews. I don't always name my files very well, and being able to quickly see a visual representation of what I'm about to print will prevent me from accidentally printing the wrong thing out. One thing we do need to touch on is the recent announcement that came out from BigTreeTech. If you haven't seen the video they made, I'll have it linked in the description, and I strongly recommend watching it before deciding to purchase a Panda Touch. In my video on the xTouch, I mentioned that due to Bambu printers running a closed firmware and ecosystem, it's entirely possible that an update could break the MQTT compatibility. Best case scenario is that a patch could fix this, but in the worst case, you would no longer have the ability to control your printer using your screen. Well, being that BigTreeTech is using the same protocol, that hasn't changed. There's mention of a possible encryption that would no longer allow the Panda Touch to control your printer. However, it's not all doom and gloom. For starters, if you don't update your printer, you won't lose compatibility. Secondly, BigTreeTech has promised to test each new firmware update and state whether it breaks functionality of their device, so you can wait until they give the green light to update. Third, with the recent announcement of the X1C jailbreak and X1 Plus firmware, Bambu Lab has publicly stated they're working on an API that would allow for third-party development. I haven't seen any update on this since then or a timeline, but I have no reason to believe that this isn't coming. Lastly, BigTreeTech says there is another version of the Panda Touch coming out called Clipper Touch that similarly will allow you to control multiple printers, but these would be Clipper printers. The good news is that the hardware between the two devices are the same, and the only thing differentiating between the two is the firmware running on them. BigTreeTech has stated that you'd be able to flash Clipper Touch onto the Panda Touch, meaning that if the device is no longer able to work with Bambu printers, it won't become a paperweight. Again, this is worst case scenario, and hopefully the API will become available and BigTreeTech and other companies will be able to continue developing third-party add-ons and updates to make these machines even better. And that has been the Panda Touch from BigTreeTech. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that I was able to answer the majority of the questions you might have had. If you do have additional questions, let me know in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer. As always, if I don't have the answer to your questions, I have no problem reaching out directly to BigTreeTech to try to get that answer for you. On that note, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great videos. We make a video every single week, so there's always fresh content coming your way. And if you do want to support the channel further, I'll have links down below in the description over to our Patreon, where there are some really awesome rewards. Huge thank you to all of our existing Patreon supporters. I appreciate each and every one of you for allowing me to come back every single week and spend more time doing what I love, which is making content for you all to enjoy. On that note, this has been Daniel from ModBot. I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Peace, guys.